So I made this really fast, so this is not exactly what I'm looking for from you, but it's somewhat similar. I want to show you to do the actual cut lines. Now, the cut lines are going to be different on everybody's piece because it's going to depend on if you're using text or if you have grouped objects or if you have compound paths. There's a lot of complexity, but the basic premise is this. I'm going to duplicate this. So I just held down the Option key and I moved this over. I need to make this one solid shape. So what I want to do is over in the Properties panel, I'm going to be able to pull up the quick actions. I want to see the quick actions and I want to see the Pathfinder. What I want to do is I want to unite. Now, one of the things that I noticed is that didn't do exactly what I was looking for, so it's not quite where I want. See, what I want to have is I want to have one solid object. So when I do unite like this, one of the issues is there's no actual fill. So I'm going to try to put a fill color in here. It doesn't matter what color I use. And then I've got all these extra junky pieces that are in here. And the reason why is I have these set as strokes. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to go to Object and Expand. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to do that a couple times. Now, depending on how you have yours set up, you may have to do it 3 or 4 times. That's usually enough. But if you run into a problem where you cannot get it to completely expand, let me know. So once you have that done, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do Unite again. And my goal is, I'm going to press Command Y, I want to get it to where it's just the outside, and I don't want any of this inside junk. So what I'm going to try is I just pressed Command Y to see just the outlines. I'm going to hit Release. What Release does is that allows me to take this away from this edge. You can see all those extra little dots. I don't want those dots. Those individual anchor points are going to cause problems later, but that's looking pretty good right there. Okay, so the whole premise was you needed to get to a point where you have just one single path and it's solid. Now, this one has quite a few bumps and edges in here, and this is going to be an issue because the blade won't cut that close to the edge. But what I'm going to try first is I'm going to go ahead and do an offset path. So with this single thing selected, I do offset path, and that's going to be where my cut line actually is. What I want to do is I'm going to change this to round, and I'm going to try like 5 point, and I'm going to click down here. That's not too bad. Maybe I'll try 7 point PT. That's looking a little bit better. So it's this outside edge is what I'm looking to create. So the distance that you have is going to be up to you, but I want to take a look at it before you turn it in. So I'm going to delete out that center one. I'm going to press Command Y again. Now this has way too many anchor points on here. Every single anchor point is where a blade is going to stop, and it may peel up the sticker. So what I want to do is with this selected, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Simplify. Now this is another instance where I don't know, because yours are going to be different than mine. That really helped quite a bit. If I drag this all the way down here, see, it really distorts it. I don't want that. But something like that, that's looking pretty good. Although I still am worried that some of these edges over on this side might be a little bit too tight. So what I'm going to do is once I've selected a Simplify, I'm going to go ahead and using my selection tool so I can see these anchor points, I'm going to come over here to my pencil area and I'm going to choose Smooth. Let me go back and select that with my direct select and then grab my Smooth tool. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of move my mouse over this. It's actually adding more points in, but what it's doing is it's getting rid of those sharp corners. So I'm just going to kind of drag my mouse along here a little bit. And then now I'm going to go back with my regular selection tool and I'm going to simplify. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it to see. That's looking pretty okay. All right. Now, everybody's is going to be different. Like I said, I'm not liking this point down here. I'm going to go ahead and straighten that one out just a little bit. There we go. Okay. That is going to be different for every single person. I'm going to press Command Y. What I want to do now is I want to choose the correct swatch. That's this swatch right here, this cut contour. It's got the little dot on there. It's the hot pink. I want that to be a stroke, and I want this stroke size to be 0.25. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag this back over the existing sticker. Line that up, and that looks pretty good. Now, let me show you a couple other quick ones. I'm going to do this relatively fast. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to start this time by expanding the appearance, and then I'm going to expand, expand, expand. I'm going to highlight the whole thing again. Going to go to my properties. Going to do ungroup. I'm going to highlight it again, and I'm going to unite. Okay, so there's a couple things that happened there with the text. Since the text is actually inside of the shape, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm going to dump this other one. That's looking actually pretty good. Going to Command Y so I can take a look and see. Yeah, there's some funky stuff happening on the beak area, but we'll fix that here in a minute. I'm going to try 7-point again and see if that works. It's actually looking okay. I'm going to do OK. I'm going to select that middle one and delete it. Select this exterior one. I'm going to simplify. It's a little bit better. Right down there, it's starting to get a little funky. So I don't like how that kind of bumps out like that little sharper edge. So that's where I'm going to go with the smooth tool. And then I'm going to try to simplify again. Simplify. It's looking good. That one I'm going to just round out just a little bit. All right. Then I'm going to come over to my swatches, choose the stroke, Command Y, change this to 0.25, and drag this over. Now, one last thing I want to show you, I'm not going to do all of these. One last thing I want to show you is don't do this. So if you decide, oh man, it's just not fitting across here, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the whole thing, hold down the Shift key, and shrink. That's totally fine, but what you need to do before you turn this in and before you get this set up, that just changed the size of the stroke. If you happen to have, pull the properties back over, if you happen to have this turned on where it says scale, strokes, and effects. So for example, if I have that turned on, I move this, look how big the stroke is. It's going to print that pink line. This, at the very end, if you change any of the sizes, my recommendation is go around, select each one of the pink strokes, and make sure that that still says 0.25. And if it doesn't, change it. So that's the last step I want you to do on each one, because you're going to potentially move these around, shrink them, make them larger. You're going to want to make sure that you make that easier. Now, if you want it to be squared, if there's something that's kind of weird or harder for you to do, square is the easiest. I can just do a straight square like that. Put a stroke on there, 0.25. Boom, that one's going to print out as if it was a bumper sticker. And then if I wanted to do this one, I could do that one again. Don't necessarily need the text on there. And this is just a single shape, so I may as well just put the stroke on the actual shape itself. So I can actually put the stroke, make the stroke go to the outside. Come on, let me hold on to that. Stroke outside, 0.25. And now that's going to cut exactly on the gray edge. If I wanted it to be offset, I could do the offset. It just depends. So those are the several different variations of what you could attempt to try, depending on what you're trying to create. Now I'm stuck with wanting to actually fix this. That little hot pink line that's right there means it'll cut right against it. This will give you white space in between, and those are the pieces. You just want to make sure that you don't get too close to the edge. I am going to cut those right along that exterior edge. You don't have to put a cut line on here if you've got a title for what you're doing. This one I was really lame, and I just made stickers for the wife. But that last part's up to you. All right, if you have questions, just let me know.